All right, well, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the delay, but we're very, very, very excited to welcome you to the 2025 Teachers for Tomorrow Conference. Yes. Honestly, I don't think I could have asked for a more beautiful day, so that also was amazing. First and foremost, my name is Sean Stanton. I'm the founder and coordinator for the Teachers for Tomorrow Conference, and I currently serve as the admissions coordinator for the Fisher College of Education and School of Criminal Justice. Of course, like I said, I'm super honored and excited to welcome you guys to this event, and really today is about celebrating the power of education and all of the educators who shape our world. Before we get started, and I'm going to take this off this thing. Before we get started, I want to share something personal. Something that shaped the very reason why this conference exists. When I was a high school student, I was on a path to becoming a near certain statistic, a dropout. But then I met Miss Hoyer. She didn't just teach me. She saw me, believed in me, and showed me that I was capable of things when I couldn't even see it in myself. That kind of impact that a single teacher can have is the reason why we are here today. When I started as a student in the Fisher Academy, preparing for my own career in education, I realized that we needed something to honor and elevate that power. We needed a space to remind everyone, future teachers, current educators, and even high school students considering this path, of the profound difference that a great teacher can make. This conference is that space. It's where we can come together to reflect on teachers who have shaped us, to inspire the next generation to carry that torch, and to remind those already in the field of your unmatched ability to transform lives every single day. Our theme this year, Finding Where You Belong, Educational Passion and Entrepreneurship, is about celebrating that power and taking it to the next level. Because teaching is not just a career. It is a calling that requires innovation, courage, and heart, and yes, entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship in education means embracing creativity, finding new ways to solve problems, and pushing the boundaries of what is possible. It's about being the teacher who does not just follow a lesson plan, but creates opportunities. Opportunities for growth, for discovery, and for meaningful change. Each of today's breakout sessions have been carefully crafted to help you find your own passion, purpose, and entrepreneurial spirit, so that hopefully you can leave here today feeling more inspired than you arrived. But truly, to me, what makes this conference the most special is that it is still student-driven. From the planning to the execution of this event, it reflects our incredible talent, creativity, and leadership of our undergraduate Fisher Academy students. Really, to me, this is a perfect example of why education matters, because when we give our students the chance to succeed, they will blow you out of the water. I do want to take a moment now because I recognize and I know truly how many hundreds of hours we have put into this. All of the students, Dr. Byrne, and the rest of the strategic team, if you could please stand if you're a part of the strategic team. I also want to say that truly this event would not be possible without our amazing sponsors. If you look on the back of the screen, you can see a list of all of the sponsors we have here today, but I do want to give a special thanks to Ms. Fisher and her husband, Bob Epstein, for truly their grassroots support. You honestly are not just committed to us, but also to the future of education. So let's also please give a round of applause to them. As we kick off this conference today, I encourage you all to reflect on a teacher who has changed your life. Consider how you can carry that same impact forward, because the work in education we do is about shaping lives and minds one connection at a time. As we explore this intersection of passion, purpose, and entrepreneurship, I hope that you do find inspiration today, not only in your own journey, but also in the stories and insights of all of the other people here today. With that in mind, I am honored to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Robert Lawrie. Lawrie's journey is a testament to the transformative power of education and the lasting impact that a single teacher can make. His story is one of resilience, inspiration, and the entrepreneurial spirit that drives daily innovation in education. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Robert Lawrie to share his incredible story.
Young man is going places. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Robert Lawrie. I am deeply honored to stand before you to deliver what I hope will be a life-changing message to my fellow educators and esteemed guests. It is with profound sincerity that I say I love each of you. Perhaps you may find that difficult to believe, but allow me the next 20 minutes or so to convince you otherwise. The capacity to care is the thing which gives life its deepest significance. Capacity to care is the thing that gives life its deepest significance. These words encapsulate the essence of the journey I wish to share with you. A journey spanning over 6 decades of learning, growth, and resilience. This story is not merely a recounting of events, but a testament to the boundless potential within all of us when driven by an unrelenting passion to make a difference. My narrative began in 1978, when as a teenager, I immigrated to the United States from Guyana, leaving behind a childhood steeped in challenges. Among those challenges were constantly moving from one rental home to the next. My mother struggled to raise 4 children on a teacher's salary, lack of the most basic staple foods under a socialist regime, disrespect by unkind neighbors because of a father missing from the household, and racial discrimination because of my mixed background, specifically my indigenous blood. And finally, my family almost being killed by a deranged drunk. My father, who initially embraced the idea of children, found the reality overwhelming, resorting to unconventional and painful ways to shirk his responsibilities. My sisters were first shipped off to the Air Force, one barely old enough to enlist, and me, at a mere 90 pounds, was left to contend with my father. I endured the verbal and physical abuse of a towering man over 6 feet tall and weighing more than 220 pounds. One fateful night, unable to bear the torment, I walked out, stepping into the uncertainty of homelessness. The next 6 years of my life were spent in the shadows, surviving on coffee, cereal, and peanut butter sandwiches. Life on the streets of Patterson, New Jersey was unyielding, but amidst that struggle, a beacon of hope appeared in the form of a transformative teacher. Recognizing my plight, Father Tom took me under his wing, offering shelter and sustenance at the rectory where he worked. His compassion and unwavering belief in me began to reshape my life. He introduced me to books, igniting a ferocious love for knowledge that has only grown over the years. In just 1 month, Father Tom achieved what years of corporal punishment in the British educational system had failed to do. He taught me the profound impact of love and compassion. My childhood in Guyana was marked by an educational system that allowed corporal punishment, a system my mother wholeheartedly embraced. She served as both my principal and disciplinarian. wielding the rod of correction with vigor. Whether for swimming in the school's agricultural pond, destroying the prized tilapia fish, or throwing a brick at a bus, my mischief often earned me lashes. Yet, despite her efforts, I remained a challenging student. It was not until Father Tom's guidance that I began to understand the true value of education, not as a means of punishment, but a path to transformation. Despite enduring further trauma, including abuse at the hands of another unsavory priest, Father Tom's influence never wavered. He believed in me when I could not believe in myself, instilling values of discipline, gratitude, and peace above all else through education. Recognizing that a rectory was not the ideal environment for a teenager, he placed me with the Smith family, an Irish-American household that became my sanctuary. The Smiths' kindness and support allowed me to graduate from Patterson Catholic High School in 1983 and pursue my dream of attending Rutgers University. My high school graduation gift from them was to give me access to a savings account they had started for me with the $100 rent I had been paying all my years through high school. The tears flowed that day. Those dollars got me started at Rutgers with no other means to pay my way through college. However, as my steps are ordered, here I am, and my village is with me. That is, of course, all of you in the audience here today. Did I mention it takes a village to raise a successful student? Balancing work and study, I took on multiple jobs as a waiter, dorm advisor, and more to support myself through college. Even when the Smiths relocated to Ireland, leaving me homeless once again, I found solace in the kindness of others. My dorm advisor provided me with a place to stay during breaks, and I persevered, navigating countless challenges with determination. In 1987, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science and history, an achievement that filled me with pride. However, arrogance became my downfall, leading to years of personal turmoil, failed marriages, and even suicide attempts. It was not until 1997 that I turned to my Creator that I found redemption and purpose. I vowed to dedicate my life to shaping future generations through education. That commitment has brought me here today to charge each of you with a profound responsibility to educate our most important resource, our students. Not just with knowledge, but with values, compassion, and an unwavering belief in their potential. Ladies and gents, they are our future. What they become is in part a direct reflection of us. In 2013, I embarked on a new chapter, pursuing a graduate degree in education. There, I encountered another life-changing educator, Dr. Daniel Marquardt, who taught me the paramount importance of self-belief. With his encouragement, I achieved my graduate degree and dared to dream of earning a PhD, a goal that once seemed unattainable. Dr. Marquardt's faith in me was transformative and his passing a few months ago is a loss I still feel deeply. Yet, his legacy endures, inspiring me to give my all to my students and to this mission. Dr. Mark Carrion's 97-year-old father is present here today, and I extend my deepest gratitude. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring this remarkable family and their contributions to education. Ladies and gents, another pivotal figure in my journey is Dr. Stephen Heck, a faculty member here at NSU and my dissertation chair and mentor. His infinite patience and dedication exemplifies the qualities of a great teacher. Future educators, this is what it means to be truly transformative. It is not just about imparting knowledge. It is about believing in the potential of your students and guiding them to believe in themselves. Dr. Heck, would you please stand, sir? My principal and dear friend, Mr. Benjamin Thompson Echeverria, further exemplifies this principle. His original thinking and boundless compassion inspire not only me, but our entire educational community. Ben, would you please stand, sir? Ben, I believe in you. No one person has been more supportive, wiser, or more determined than I to change this world for the better than my dearest friend, confidant, legal advisor, fellow educator, and co-founder of Project Unite Humanity, Ms. Cindy Schulman. Cindy, please stand. Project Unite Humanity reflects the combination of passion for education while harnessing the desire to utilize its value for the betterment of society. The results of our collective efforts through Project Unite Humanity are tangible. Through mentoring programs, we have changed lives, providing students with opportunities they had never imagined, from visiting museums to sharing meals at restaurants. Together, we have delivered Thanksgiving meals to hundreds of families, provided financial and emotional support to struggling colleagues, and built libraries in Guyana, Nepal, and Israel, with a fourth on the way in Zambia. Each of these projects represents not just a structure of service, but a profound belief in the transformative power of education. Let me take you further into the details of these initiatives. Consider the first library we built in Guyana, in a small village named Better Hope, where I was born and educated in my early years. One with limited access to educational resources. It was not just about the books, but about creating a space where children could dream, learn, and aspire for a better future. The second library in Nepal faced unique challenges due to the global pandemic. Despite this, we provided funds to ensure school staff could be paid and students received warm clothing and food during harsh winters. I was there, I know. The classrooms themselves were modest, mud flooring and bamboo walls. Yet the spirit of learning that filled them was extraordinary. Our third library in Israel aims to foster a love for learning across diverse communities. And the upcoming project in Zambia promises to do the same. Each of these libraries is a testament to what is possible when educators and communities come together. As educators, our mission is profound. We are not merely transmitter of knowledge, but architects of futures. Our students come to us as blank slates, ready to be shaped by our guidance and example. Let us rise to this extraordinary challenge with courage, passion, and unwavering commitment to their success. Together, we can inspire the next generation to dream boldly and achieve beyond their wildest imaginations. When we can provide the foothold for our students' success, not only do the students win, so does their community, as well as all of society. At Project Unite Humanity, we have a motto: one person, one community, one world. We are all connected so that each of our individual success cultivate communal growth. It is very easy for me to stand here and connect the dots for you between fervor, compassion, education, student success, and community growth. But you're probably asking, how can that actually be done? Let me share more of my story to inspire you to pursue your own. In 2007, after participating in a mission to provide dental work for those in need in Guyana, along with Cindy, we came home energized and passionate about helping underserved communities. As gratifying as that mission was, we were both well aware that education is our comfort zone, not dentistry. In brainstorming, we could provide educational resources to those that lack them. We came up with the idea of building libraries. As educators, we all understand the value of reading, not only for academic success, but physiological, emotional, and cognitive strength. Reading also empowers. It allows one to learn, imagine, and grow. Cindy and I challenged our collective passions for education and students and decided to create this new organization with a mission to provide resources for those in need. It is not hard to find underserved communities, or in fact, to even get started. We actually were able to benefit from the Nova Southeastern University Law School's Burger Entrepreneurial Clinic to help us with paperwork in creating a tax-exempt corporation. And we hired a website designer to create our connection to society. Once all of that was ready, the hard part began for those of you getting into nonprofit organizations. Fundraising. As the organization can rise to the level of financial support it has, that has always been, and I suppose will always be, the greatest challenge to running a nonprofit. But with every dollar that is raised, PUH has been able to make quite an impact on the betterment of students and society. As much as we should be encouraging our students to dream, we must model that for them. We need to transform our individual passions into ways to encourage our students to find theirs. When we connect the two, we can elevate education outside of the classroom to impact our students and society. Ladies and gents, speaking of educators and impact, please welcome Dr. Janae Taylor-Nurse, PhD in physics before age 31, published works and has done research for NASA, a first-year teacher who is doing incredible work at Sheikh Hillel community and is a credit to our profession. This is her first year as an educator, and she has already demonstrated her action. Her unique qualifications, position, and status have already impacted her students with the expectation that they will continue to do so. Further, I have plans for her with Project Unite Humanity, which will help produce the combination of educator and community to spread impact. No one gets a free pass that has met me in this journey to change our world through education. Dr. Janae Taylor-Nurse. My fellow educators and educators to be, you have been notified. I look forward to meeting you after the speech. Finally, let me introduce you to a very special young woman who exemplifies all of which I have spoken. The motivation, passion, achievement, and impact. Officer Christina Gibson is a former student who, with faculty and family support, coupled with her individual passion, is quite the resume. She graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy with a major in aerospace engineering and has worked at NASA, Boeing, and Lockheed Martin, as well as the International Space Station, where she designed a space cabin for long-term human flight to Venus. She has graduated from Prospective Nuclear Engineer Officer School and is presently the most senior female junior officer on board a nuclear submarine where she is in charge of tactical systems. She's not finished yet. She still has dreams of pursuing a master's in mechanical or aerospace engineering. It was the original intent to have Commander Gibson join us by Zoom, but because of her current deployment, she is unable to do so. My fellow educators, Commander Gibson epitomizes what we as educators can inspire our students to do. In closing, I urge you to embrace your unique gifts and dedicate yourselves to this noble calling. I urge you to exercise with vigor the awesome responsibility that has been bestowed upon you. Molding our most valuable resource, our students. The world needs your passion, your vision, and your belief in the transformative power of education. Together, let us rise to this extraordinary challenge and change the world. Go forth with courage, passion, love, and faith, knowing that the impact of your dedication will reverberate for generations to come. To whom much is given, much is expected. What will your legacy? Peace, 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 and I love you all. Hopefully, at this point, you do believe. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Robert Lawrie. That was beautiful, and what an inspirational story. It's now my great honor to introduce the director of the Fisher Academy, Dr. Luke Williams.
Right, I was gonna say, please, everybody, stay seated. No problems here. I am thrilled. By the way, if I can ask the panelists to join me up front, and please silence your cell phones. Sorry, I just wanted to do that. All right, welcome everyone who is on the panel. Take a seat. Let me see if I can follow your lead there, Sean, with taking this off the handle there. Welcome. We should have a spot for everyone here. All right, thank you. We are thrilled to have you join us for this exciting gathering of innovative minds dedicated to shaping the future of education. Before we dive into today's program, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Fishler College of Education and School of Criminal Justice team, whose hard work resulted in this wonderful event. Thank you to Dr. Kimberly Durham, our esteemed dean, for her unwavering support, Dr. Marcelo Castro and Dr. Carmen Session, our associate deans and department chairs, for their leadership and insight, Mr. Sean Stanton, coordinator for the Fishler Academy, for his dedication and vision, Dr. Jennifer Byrne, our faculty sponsor, for her guidance and expertise, and the Fishler Academy Pre-Professional Committee for their hard work and commitment to ensuring this conference's success. Your efforts have created an incredible platform for collaboration and growth. Everybody just give them a great round of applause for helping us support this. This year, our theme explores the dynamic intersection of education and entrepreneurship, a space where creativity, innovation, and impact converge. Educators are redefining their roles by embracing entrepreneurship, empowering themselves to become innovators, problem solvers, and change makers in the field of education. Through entrepreneurial thinking, they're identifying challenges within their classrooms and communities and designing creative solutions that extend beyond traditional teaching methods. By launching educational initiatives, developing learning tools, and leveraging technology, educators are not only enhancing student outcomes, but also creating sustainable ventures that address critical needs. This entrepreneurial spirit fosters a sense of ownership and autonomy, enabling educators to amplify their impact, pursue their passions, and shape the future of education on their own terms. To further explore this exciting intersection, we are honored to introduce a panel of educators who have empowered themselves through entrepreneurial ventures. These individuals have not only reimagined their roles, but have also created meaningful solutions that benefit students, schools, and communities. Let's meet our panelists as they share their journeys, challenges, successes, and inspiring us all to think beyond the traditional boundaries of education. Michael Hernandez is an award-winning educator, digital innovator, and author. Michael creates engaging, student-centered learning experiences to strengthen digital and civic literacy. Dr. Jennifer Byrne is an assistant professor and CEO of New Grade, a standards-based grading app. Dr. Byrne's research and initiatives focus on the intersection of education and technology to create ethical, collaborative, authentic, and innovative learning environments. Dr. Jody C. Marshall is the CEO of All About Learning Press and former leader of FLVS. Jody has driven virtual education innovations and is committed to mission-driven K-12 learning. Kristen Magaletti, a social studies educator and curriculum designer. Kristen fosters critical thinking and prepares students as global citizens through innovative student-centered practices. Dr. Tia Major is the CEO of the Literacy Connection, a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving literacy throughout South Florida. Dr. Major has over 30 years of experience in education and works to close educational gaps and empower communities. Dr. Elizabeth Aguila is an assistant professor and former director of Hialeah Gardens High School's Teaching Academy. Dr. Aguila's research interests center on teacher identity, with a particular focus on how personal experiences, professional context, and cultural influences shape educators' sense of self. Let's welcome our panelists. Prior to jumping into our discussion, let's take a moment to frame the conversation by defining entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is defined as the process of identifying opportunities, taking initiative, and assuming risks to create and manage a business, project, or venture with the goal of generating value, solving problems, or addressing needs. It often involves innovation, resourcefulness, and leadership to turn ideas into practical, sustainable outcomes. I believe that is an important first step, as I suspect many of our panelists would first define themselves as educators. That being said, our esteemed panelists' traits and experiences align with the characteristics of entrepreneurs as well. This conversation serves to push how we define ourselves as professionals in a dynamic and rapidly changing world. We now begin our discussion with some prepared questions, and we will leave time for the audience to share their questions as well. Let's begin with the first question. First question is, what inspired you to explore entrepreneurship as an extension of your career in education? Nope. This is a conversation.
I'm happy to start. Is that okay? For me, it was about realizing the impact that you could make in the classroom and how utilizing that with innovation could make an even bigger difference. Most educators, I think, we heard Dr. Lawrie talk about this, I genuinely care about the students in the classroom. And I think you come to realize when you do have a class of students that it's not just about that one child, but it's about all children. And so the ability to bring innovation and creativity and solve problems in the classroom, you reach those children, but then you realize that also extends to an entire class, an entire school, a district, a state. And so for me, it was really about good luck and good timing, honestly, of having the good fortune to be in a classroom situation that I adored, where I did feel like I was making a difference and had really great mentors, but just the impact of beyond the classroom, how that could extend when you use innovation and creativity.
For me, sorry, can you hear me now? So for me, I started off as an educator at a Title I school, immigrant population, Haitian American, and it was during a time when the media and the world was depicting Haitians as subhuman. So imagine showing up to your classroom every day and you are faced with not only educating these brilliant boys and girls, but really having them to understand and be proud of who they are. And so it started for me there, where I realized that I must be passionate about what I'm bringing to the table, and it can't just be about academics again. I must find ways and experiences that will uplift their spirits and make them happy and let them have fun and feel good about themselves. So that's where I began to find my passions in education, because I was adamant about trying to figure out ways to empower them. And then from there, I think that working at a Title I school, we all know that there's so many barriers, and designing programming and strategies and initiatives to help overcome those barriers became another passion of mine. And so I think the pivotal moment for me was when we decided to take that brand of initiative to the community, and we found that it was greatly needed. And so I said to myself, okay, this is something that we have to do on a larger scale, similar to what you said. You realize that it's not just your classroom. You realize that it's your classroom, the community at large, the county, the state, and the world. And so that's kind of where I started in terms of my entrepreneurial journey. Started in the classroom, but now I'm here, and I can tell you that it's been the most rewarding experience for me of my life.
Jump in also. I'm gonna jump in also. So I started my career 18 years ago, also at Title I school. I'm in the New York City Department of Education. And when I first started, entrepreneurship in the classroom really was not a thing. And so since I started, I've started teaching entrepreneurship about 10 years ago in Florida, and now it's really abundant in a lot of communities, which is really exciting to see. So I started my career as a secondary social studies teacher. And when you are working with students in that context, I think another element of entrepreneurship that can be really woven into the framework for today is empathy. And when you're working with history students, you're trying to get them to develop a historical mindset, historical context, to see multiple perspectives, to really understand something outside of them, to really understand all voices for a particular time set. So as I worked in my career down here, prior to teaching, I worked in advertising and cable network advertising. So seeing the connection, the availability to now connect some of my industry background into the classroom was really great, because as we teach entrepreneurship, you need to think about your consumers' needs first. We use the design thinking framework, and having students think not only about what they want, but their target audience and their consumer. Well, that applies to so many content areas, not just what you think, but what does your character think? What do they feel? What does this audience want? And how do you include as many voices as you can to really understand your market and your product at a deeper level?
Yeah, if I could jump in. For me, the term entrepreneurship is sort of a loaded term that I used to bristle at because it's associated with businesses. And people are always like, oh, run it like a business. You know, you should run schools like a business. And I think that's absolutely wrong, because we're not here to exploit the environment or to colonize. We're here to produce and create. And so for me, this idea of labeling and choosing to use certain words, we either associate ourselves with that mindset or we don't, based on our preconceived ideas of that. And same thing for our students, and the same thing for our parents and our administrators and people we're going to be working with. But for me, like, I love Luke's definition about this idea of having to innovate and pivot. And I got into, I guess, the entrepreneurial mindset, not because I'm running a business, although I kind of have a consultant gig on the side, like most of us. But it's really about necessity. Whether it's minute by minute on the ground in the classroom, I have to pivot. I have to think about what's next and where I'm going. I have to be creative, which is the fun part of, we were just talking about having this conversation about the creativity involved with curriculum design. It's fun, you're creating something brilliant and beautiful and creative and fun, and you're taking students on a learning journey, right? And so I look at it that way as a way to pivot, but it's a necessity. So whether it's minute by minute or month by month lesson planning, or whether it's getting resources or getting help or support, you're thinking like somebody who is interconnected with a larger community. And we'll get into this a little bit later, but this idea that teaching is not isolated. It's interdisciplinary, no matter what you're teaching. I come from Los Angeles, and we're having a huge problem right now. I'm happy to be here breathing clean air, and we cannot disconnect the reality outside our classrooms of the real world, policies, laws, all of that stuff, from what we teach. It is interconnected. Whether people tell you it's supposed to be separate or not is absolutely not true. So for me, this idea of entrepreneurship is necessity, recognizing that there are no silos, everything is interconnected, we have to grow, pivot, and adapt, and whether it's just to survive or to be successful, but also to model these mindsets for our students. So we're thinking about everybody, all of our students being stressed out, right, and anxious. It's not about cell phones, and it's not about social media. I'm telling you, it's so many other things like we're all talking about, our keynote speakers talking about his life experience. How are kids supposed to focus if they can't do that? And so this is us being able to take the resources and the expectations that we're given by our state, by our district, and how can we also at the same time pivot and adjust and incorporate the lives and the important things that really truly matter to our students, which is probably not algebra or memorizing history. It's about how do we think about these things and how do we grow and adapt as we get new information. Sorry, that's not good answer.
So for me, it actually makes me think about a computer screensaver when we used to have screensavers that I had that was actually a clip art of a teacher, and she was wearing many hats, and the hats filled the screen. And for me, entrepreneur was just one of those roles, was one of those hats. And being open-minded, having that growth mindset, being willing to be mentored so that you can learn from other people. And then filling a need, for me, I was asked to open a preschool in a high school campus. And it's very shocking to be asked to do that. Especially when the only kids you've ever dealt with were your own children. And it's very different teaching other people's preschool children than handling your own. But taking on that challenge, being willing to learn what you have to do to open a preschool, because it was like opening a business. I had to budget, I had to hire people, I had to all of a sudden take off one of my teacher roles and put on this entrepreneur hat. And let me tell you, so many people in my family are like, you should really open a preschool. They make a lot of money. But at that time, my high school had a need, and the need was to open an academy of education. And part of my passion has been, to fill this need of putting amazing teachers out there, and it continues to be my passion today.
I'm gonna follow up with what everybody said. Michael, what you were saying before about pivoting and wearing many hats, Liz, and I think a lot of teachers actually all of the teachers that I know, we do take on so many different roles. I think for me, the idea of entrepreneurship and education is identifying things that we see that aren't working or not what we want them to be, and having the courage and the innovation to think differently, frankly, and to think, and any of you of my students who know me, you're gonna nod and say that this is what we do. But when you see something that is systemic in education, and it's the way we've always done things, and that's what people say, it's the way we've always done things, but why don't we do things differently? Well, we need to have that courage and insight and creativity to look around and say, okay, well, how am I going to do this differently? What steps do I have to take? Who can I gather around me? Who can I bring with me on this journey? And for my own business, it was looking at the way that we've always graded and then saying, why do we grade this way? And why do we do things the way that we've always done it? And how can we do things differently? Or in my own classroom, seeing, I innovated a portfolio system, and it was not anything that anybody else had done in our school, but the truth was that what we were doing wasn't working. And so I think part of that idea of entrepreneurship is having courage. When other people are telling you you can't do something, if I had a nickel for every time somebody told me I couldn't do something, I'd be a wealthy woman. I'm not, but but that's okay. But I'm just saying that it takes that courage and that conviction, because it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about our students, every single one of them. And we will never know how many lives we touch. I guarantee you all of us up here will agree with that. But we touch so many lives, and we transform lives when we have that courage of our convictions to make change for the benefits of our students. And so for me, that's entrepreneurship.
Thank you. And going back to the mission of this conference and thinking about the theme of this year, it's part of this is about pushing, as I mentioned earlier, those boundaries of how we define things. In this rapidly changing world, we may have defined ourselves a particular way 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and that shifts. And with all the technology people have referenced, the rise of AI, and going on to all these different elements, having that entrepreneurial spirit or mindset. When I was looking at definitions of entrepreneurship, I was thinking, these are the greatest teachers I know. They have all of these qualities. How, and then looking at our alumni at the Fisher College of Education, School of Criminal Justice, and at NSU, all of the great things that they've done and accomplished, I'm thinking, okay, there's something to this, that these characteristics and traits transfer. These skills transfer in many different capacities. Now I'd like to ask, in your opinion, what unique perspectives do educators bring to entrepreneurial ventures?
Well, I can kind of start to Dr. Burns' point. You need to be brave. First of all, you need to have the courage to try something different. Mention unpopular opinion during a meeting.
Absolutely.
Be the idea person that is so annoying. I am always the annoying idea person. And sometimes the ideas are really big, and sometimes they have to just be narrowed down, and that's why you need to be open to working in the team. And these are all, as Dr. Williams was saying, these are all entrepreneurial qualities, being willing to learn, being willing to be mentored. All of these people that you're meeting today, take a seed from them, take something from them and apply it to your life in some way. And that's being entrepreneurial as well. And you all, the upcoming teachers, you're coming into the field at such a great time. When I became a teacher, it was like every teacher was in their own classroom. And they really didn't, I mean, we had committees and things like that, but it was really small silos. Now you've got teachers on social media making amazing videos with great tips, and they're out there in the community. There's just technology has really opened the doors for you all, so you can learn in different ways and apply your talents in different ways. And you can affect more students than just the ones that are in your classroom. So having that open mind, being brave, and I think that those are just some of the skills.
Yeah, I'll jump in and say, so in addition to the passion and the love of children and the growth mindset and all the things that you hear about when you're in a classroom and that you do inherently have inside yourself when you're in that classroom, I think the really unique perspective that educators bring is that you're on the forefront, you're seeing new classrooms of students, new children every single year. So new issues, problems to solve. You're also seeing technology develop almost faster than kids are coming into your classroom. So, but I think those things together are super unique in terms of entrepreneurship. We talked earlier about it's about solving problems, and what better environment to do that in than when you have a new classroom of individual students every single year. So I think that to me is the truly unique perspective that an educator has, in addition to all the, the multitasking, the communication and the time management and all those things that we know just come with being part of a school environment. It's new individual unique children with their own individual unique problems that need your help. I think that's the best piece an educator can have.
For me, I always say that having an educator's skill set is powerful because of all the many hats we wear. But I think that the most unique thing that we bring to the table is being able to identify a need like this and understand how to address the need. So we do this every day, differentiated instruction, making sure that this child is getting what they need. You may have 25 children and you're addressing all 25 needs. And I think that's the springboard in terms of becoming an entrepreneur, understanding the needs of whatever problem you're solving, because let's face it, every business, nonprofit or for-profit, you're addressing a problem. In either sales or you're identifying it and you're making a difference within it. But I think it's being able to identify the needs of our audience and understanding how to address it, and also being creative and innovative in the way that you do that. And so one of the things for my organization is that we're oozing with creativity and innovation. I don't know if you guys saw the Operation Literacy bus out in front of the library. That is our bus, that's our baby. That's the thing that gets kids excited about reading. Who would have thought that we just need to get our kids excited about reading? To maybe get them to read. And there's multiple ways you can do that, but what I'm saying is the creativity, the innovation all stems from understanding the need.
I'm gonna jump in also. I think a lot of the framework for why we're here and the fabulous speeches that we had to frame the session about how education can transform the lives of our students is why we're called to do what we do. And something that's powerful, it's not my quote, but it's something that really shapes how I approach my classroom. It's actually by Adam Grant. He wrote this book on the habits of original thinking, and it's about divergent thinkers in the classroom. And he talks about the difference between deja vu, which is when you experience something, you feel like you experienced it before, and vujade, which is when you are seeing something that you see all the time, but through a completely new lens. And so I feel like it's my role as a teacher to have students leave my classroom with many, many more questions about the world around them than they have answers. To look at a problem, disrupt the status quo, as mentioned before, and wonder how might we, and that my class sets a framework to help them facilitate that drive and their passion. Another thing that I've heard that really has stayed with me in recent years, and actually we've used it in our session, but a lot of time you hear about empowering student voice. And often I want to reframe that word too, because I don't think it's our job necessarily as educators to empower students. I think it's to give them the space to step into the power that they already have, right? So how do I figure out who the kids that are there in front of me, and how do I get them to see themselves as active agents of change? They don't need to wait until adulthood to do this. And so as a social studies teacher, that was core to what I did. And so it's really exciting that entrepreneurship is a space where it's really encouraged to step into that. And as a lot of you are entering your first classrooms, speaking of that explosion, there are so many student groups that are available for you to help facilitate that. I'm the DECA advisor for any of you who are in DECA. I collaborate with Junior Achievement, and there's just so many resources to help you achieve those ambitions.
Kristen, we should partner on this stuff. Definitely, I just want to touch on the curiosity piece, which is the center of my book that I wrote. And students are naturally curious. It just gets squashed when we have standardized tests and textbooks that say you must follow this pattern. We don't let them explore their passions within the framework of our curriculum. So I feel like learning to ask good questions is the most important skill we can teach our students. Can I trust this source? Why is this happening? Who can I ask? How do I verify that this is true or not? Where do I go next? All of these important questions, we need to nurture that. And kind of going on this idea of student empowerment, that's how we empower students, is to let them be who they are. And kind of going back to the earlier comment about making a difference in your community and with your staff. Now, as first year or young educators, you will not be able to ask the tough questions and challenge the principal. In some school districts, you can't ever do that because you don't have a union. You see, policy is connected to all of this, right? But we can ask good questions. Hey, why are we doing this? Or does anybody notice how this is happening? Or is there another way to do this? Is there a better way to do it? And just by having the courage to ask a question, it starts that cascade of other people starting to think and question a little bit differently, a little bit outside the box. And then again, that works within our staff and our districts and our school sites, but also with our students as well. So what's our role? What do we bring to this idea of entrepreneurship? Being the devil's advocate. Why is it like this? Is it working or not? How come? Is there some better way to do this? And just pushing people to ask themselves the questions, to have the courage to break that logjam, to say, it's okay to discuss this. Somebody else is also thinking about it, or I never considered that before. What a great perspective. That's what we need.
So this is an opportunity now to hear a little bit about how each of you use entrepreneurial ventures to impact the field of education positively. So if you want to share some different entrepreneurial ventures, projects that you've done to impact the community, whether that be the school or greater community.
I'll start. So to piggyback on the Operation Literacy Bus, during COVID, schools were closed, of course, so the kids didn't have access to school libraries. The public libraries were closed, so they didn't have access to books. So we thought, how can we stay alive in the community, given the circumstance? And we decided that we would identify the communities with the most need, and we would create a special tour just to make sure those babies were able to have books in the home during that time. So we realized that the Black and brown population was the population that we needed to serve. And we created an initiative called the Black Church Book Tour, where we partnered with churches and other organizations who served Black and brown children and families. And we would roll the bus up, just like they would roll those big semis up. As they were passing out the food, we would pass out the books. And so we know just from the faces of the families, just from the feedback of the families, that this was something that was so profound, because I think during that time, we kind of just got lost in education. A lot of children were not connecting. It was just a total disconnection, and the disparities, the digital divide, not to mention, it was horrible. And so creating that kind of initiative in a space where we weren't doing it before, but because of the climate in the country, we knew we had to do something. And so I think that initiative was born out of a need of making sure that our babies had books in the home to read, because the number one indicator of being a great reader and a great test taker is having books in the home and reading them. And so I think that that was something that definitely made a positive impact on our community.
So at the high school where I worked, I had the opportunity to open a brand new school, which is, if you ever have the opportunity to do that, jump on that, because it is a very unique experience. So this school was going to be an academy school. That was gonna have a school within a school framework. And they were gonna open with different academies, a biomedical academy, engineering, mostly STEM academies. And the students were very excited. A lot of students came to our school just to be part of an academy. We had a tremendous biomedical academy, so many students. And we didn't have an academy of education. So the school had all these benefits for the academy. The academy students went on different field trips and they got funding for paid internships during the summer. And students began asking, like, why don't we have an academy for students that want to become teachers? And I approached my principal and asked that question. I said, why don't we have an academy of education here at our school? And it wasn't recognized as an academy nationally, based on the National Academy Foundation at that time. Now it is, but back then it was not. And I told my principal, when the NAF people come to our school again, because they used to come to our school all the time from different states, I said, let them come by my class. And we had the preschool running already at that time. And we prepared, my students and I, we prepared, and we were like, we're gonna convince them that teaching is a science, right? And we did. And we convinced them that, you know, that teaching needs to be looked at as a science and part of STEM. And it worked. And they accepted the Academy of Education as an academy, and the students were able to do paid internships, and they were able to participate in all of those things. We began to reach out into the community as well, and we started to visit and be part of the daycares and the preschools that were in our community. I was also at a Title I school, so our community had different needs when it came to, you know, they didn't have as many preschool teachers as they needed, so our students were kind of filling those gaps in the summer. So, you know, reaching out to the community, I think is a very important part of that.
I'd love to jump in, just a few examples, and then I really want to say what I think piggybacks on what you were saying. So I started with Florida Virtual School way back, very shortly after it was founded, and there were 50 students that we served, and then as we grew and doubled in size every year, when I left, we were serving over 1 million individual students each year, over I think 4 million in the history of the organization. But we went from, you know, serving 50 techno-savvy boys at the very beginning, because that's who was online and interested in technology, to 90,000 Algebra 1 students who had failed the EOC for the second time. So we were doing all sorts of things to solve problems daily. We put physical education online and everybody thought we were crazy. And then that started with logging your workouts on a piece of paper, to old school like me up here with my notes, to fit bands and fitness watches. So, you know, things do naturally evolve. We also created sign language as an online course, which everyone thought we were crazy to do, and got it passed so that it would fulfill the foreign language requirement in the state of Florida. So all sorts of neat things that I was honestly just fortunate enough to be a part of in terms of bigger impact in serving the community. But what I want to hit on what you said, because I think the key to being involved is to take some risks, and don't be afraid to say yes. So if I were a young new teacher at a school and they said, do you want to open a school? I would have said, no. I would have been terrified. What do you mean open a school? No, I just have my own little classroom. I just started, I don't know how to open a school. But don't be afraid to say, you know what, you're asking me, so obviously you think I can handle it. Yes, I'll do that. And then eventually you will actually start raising your hand for things that you come up with yourself. But I just want to really hit home that don't be afraid to take risks, because that's where the magic typically happens. And you'll be so surprised that you actually were able to do it and did it well.
I'd like to jump in because so many amazing things. I just want to say, team manager, Dr. Major, I already told her this, but the bookmobiles that pull up, you know, her amazing van and everything. I was that kid when I was little. When my mother was working, single mother, working, teaching, and then went and got her MBA. And but you know, there wasn't like a library right next to us, and they used to have a bookmobile that would pull up in the Winn-Dixie, you know, like right around the corner from my house, and that was what sparked my passion. That's why I'm here right now. I mean, so I can't imagine the number of lives, Dr. Major, that you and your organization are changing. It's amazing. And everything that all these educators, these passionate educators are saying up here, that courage that we have, I think Liz is right, and Dr. Aguilar is right, that somebody's gonna approach it, but it's that idea of thinking, why are we doing things the way that we're doing things? And what if, please, my educators out there, continue to think, what if we did things differently? What would it take to do things differently? And Dr. Marshall, I love what you're saying, is all the things that people say you're crazy. Yeah, but that's because it just hasn't been done yet. It's like Carol Dweck, the power of yet. It's not no, it's not yet. It's just that we haven't done it yet. And so I encourage all of you to just think to yourselves, you know, what concrete steps do I need to take? How do we make change? And then I think what a lot of us up here have been saying is that change is contagious. It's scary. It's really scary for a lot of people. But when you have a successful model, other people are going to see that. And so Liz, like you know, if I did things in my classroom that were successful, different, but successful, I taught Joan's daughters actually, Dr. McGettigan's daughters, and they did this crazy portfolio system that I came up with, but they loved it. And then other teachers see what you're doing, and Tanya, we worked together too, and we did crazy things too. But people see those crazy things that you do, and they see that they're working, and then they come up to you on the side. They don't come up right away, but they find you at the lunch table, and they say, so Jennifer, like, if you have like a minute, could we talk about what you do? Like, how could I do that, you know? And then you do, and you share what you know, because that's what other thing that good teachers do, they share everything shamelessly. So, right, we do, I mean, and so I would say, be fearless, be passionate, but find and encourage that same thing in your students, because your students have it naturally, I promise you they do. But I think, you know, like Michael was saying, somewhere along the way, we've stamped it out of them. And no one's gonna be super excited about existentialism, which I would have to teach 6 times, right? But I'm gonna get up there and be, wow, who wants to learn about existentialism? Yeah! And you have to be a little crazy. And everybody's like, yeah, existentialism, you know? And then they wanna talk about it. So I would say be that passion, be fearless, and make that change and share what you know. And your students will do it too. They will go on to do amazing things. I see what they do out in the world, and I'm so proud of them.
Okay, thank you. And now we're gonna leave some time for audience questions. So I don't know if we have somebody with the microphone. Maddie's got the microphone. Matt, any questions from the audience so far? Oh, okay.
Hi, everyone. What are the biggest barriers that you see in students developing these entrepreneurial skills while they're going into education?
Oh, can I start? So, there are gonna be many barriers. One of them being people who don't share your vision. You know, you're gonna be able to, because there's such a teacher shortage, you can be very picky about where you work. Work in a place that matches your energy. Work in a place with very good leadership that's gonna allow you to be creative, that's gonna allow you to, you know, live out your ideas. Because those barriers can extinguish your fire, and you don't want that to happen. So definitely that. Also, find people that match your crazy. Like Dr. Byrne matches my crazy. And sometimes Dr. Williams. But find people, because your vibe really, your tribe really does determine your vibe, or is that reversed? But it can cause a barrier when you are with people that are negative, that don't share your growth mindset, people that don't share your vision. So definitely avoid those barriers if you can.
And I wanna jump in and piggyback on what you're saying, because early on, I realized that it's important to collaborate and identify gifts in other teachers. And this is how it helped us. Literacy Connection started as a school-based program. It was called Linking the Library to Literacy, because I was a library media specialist. And there was no way we would establish a nonprofit if it had not been for those teachers bringing their other gifts to the table. Like, we had one teacher who was really good with performing arts. We had a teacher who had an MBA. We had teachers that just had these specialties outside of the 100 hats that you wear, that really collectively, we were a force to be reckoned with in the district. So much so, we won 2 awards for this school-based program. So, like she said, find your tribe, find the like-minded folks, and make sure they bring different gifts to the table to complement what you're trying to do. Because that is really what moved the needle for us as a school-based program, as well as establishing the nonprofit organization. So I'm in total agreement, and I'm at your crazy too.
I would kind of go off of that too. So how do you find your tribe? People say this all the time. Oftentimes it's outside of your school and outside of your state. So you should definitely participate in national organizations, become a member of a variety of organizations, and go to conferences at a national level, not at your school, not at your city. Get beyond that, because good ideas are everywhere, and chances are they're not in your local community. I don't find inspiration at my school at all. Just honestly, right? But there are amazing educators around the world, in China, in Ireland, in all these other places that I get to work with, that inspire you. And I would also say, kind of going off of that, don't stay in your lane, don't stay in your silo. So if you're a language arts teacher or an elementary school teacher, don't just go to those conferences. Like, I went to the social studies conference for the first time. I'm not a social studies teacher, although I teach civics. We kind of all do. And so can you find inspiration from what other people are thinking or doing, and reading materials beyond and outside of the education scope? Because everyone's got their blinders on. This is how it is. So I'm reading Harvard Business Review, and I'm reading The Atlantic, and I'm reading all these art and design magazines for ideas that apply to STEM, that apply to creative writing, that apply to entrepreneurship in the classroom. So diversify that tribe and look for best ideas way beyond your local site.
I want to add to, someone talked about, I think it was earlier, getting restrictions within your own administration and places where you're not able to make a lot of creative leaps. What I found to be really successful for me is giving voice to my students' needs through presentations to those administrators. By having my students create a pitch for something that they're passionate about, it's harder for administration to say no to students than it is for them to say no to me. So when I first moved down here, actually I live in Palm Beach County, we became the first fair trade designated school, high school in the state of Florida, which was really exciting. And my head of school, he responded to the students by saying that he wanted a list of all of the pushback that they would get from the community, every single negative. And it forced my students to have to get in touch with the National Association of Episcopal Schools, fair trade organizations, the local coffee shop, to understand the differences between direct trade and fair trade, and really deepen their research so much more to make such a compelling argument to our head of school, and who eventually approved it. In addition, not just going to conferences, but gaining connections to the people in your community that want to help schools. we've had connections with Gumbo Limbo with regard to our impact on local shorelines, and many other organizations, universities, that have a ton of resources that are looking to collaborate if you reach out. So be involved in your own community to see where you can bring in those supports if you're not getting it at your school community, because there are so many people that want to help students and want to help you.
Thank you, and we have time for one more question from the audience, so yes?
Hi, really incredible panel there. You guys had such motivational, inspiring things to say. I just wanted to ask, so sort of as a young adult who can see so many things that they want to help with and so many things in the educational field that you want to get involved with, what are you guys' recommendations for kind of staying grounded and not being overwhelmed by the sheer amount of things that you can do to help?
It's a daily struggle. I think when you tend to lean into this space, and you do start to do these things, sometimes at your school, you will get asked to do 12,000 other things as well. And from seeing your student success, wanting to give back in so many different ways. So I think it's number one, really leaning into your passion and what your students are passionate about, and being comfortable with setting boundaries for, this is really what I want to put my energy into. I'm happy to collaborate with you. But in terms of the types of classes that I taught, that's been something that's just kind of emerged too throughout my career. I didn't start my career imagining that I would be running a social entrepreneurship program 18 years later. It really was just kind of, where my passions led me. And I think that that's totally a natural part of the process too.
I'm gonna try and jump in. I'm gonna jump in. I'm chuckling with Liz over here too. Gosh, Jody, anybody were taking on too much when you said boundaries. We were all like, boundaries, what's that? What are those? But I'm gonna say, have a plan and know your why. Have a plan and know your why. So you can't do anything without a plan. This conference wouldn't have happened without a plan and without a lot of really good people to make it happen. But if you approach an administrator and you just say, hey, I have this great idea, but you don't have a plan and you don't actually have something to show them and you don't have anything that shows them, that you've already thought about all of the challenges and how you're going to overcome them and who the stakeholders are and how you're going to provide for the people who are important, your administrator's gonna say, how are you gonna do this? So prepare, have a plan, and go in with that plan. But I'm gonna say, always remember your why. For me, it's my students. That's the easiest thing, my students. I love you all. But it's like every single day is a good day because I get to come in and see my students, and they're my why. And so if you have whatever your why is, you keep that first and foremost in your mind, because you will have barriers, you will have challenges, you're gonna have those days where you go, oh my God. But you remember your kids, you remember your why, and that's what it reignites your passion. Every single time you get low, it gets you high again, and you just never forget it, so.
Yeah, I just want to kind of just quickly jump in. The flip side, what Jennifer was saying, you don't know what your why is yet. And you don't know what your plan is yet. Like, I'm still figuring out my plan. And I think that's okay. I think you sort of either, this is how I work, maybe my mind works this way, I'm really slow, but I sort of like look back and discover what my thread has been. I don't necessarily know exactly what I'm doing or where I'm going. I do what I notice is important for me and my students and my career at that moment. But I think Jennifer's right, is like start to think about what your thing is, not what somebody else's thing is. And so when I first started teaching, I was like always trying to impress everybody and say, my class is rigorous, and this is why my class is important, and I was trying to please other people. And it took years for me to kind of settle into who I was and my rhythm, my personality with my students in my program, and where I fit into the global ecosphere of education. So now I realize, oh, my thing is storytelling. And so in my project, I just authored a book, and I'm 25 years into teaching. Oh, I have a newsletter that uplifts inspiring and innovative ideas to share with other people to help solve their problems. That's my thing, that I realized that's where I stand. And so absolutely have a plan, micro plans as you go, but don't feel locked into, I must do this, and if I don't, I'm a failure, or put all your eggs in one basket. Test it out a little bit. Go to those conferences, speak to the people who are doing those things you think you're interested in, see if that's for you, try a few things, publish a few articles, go to conferences and speak, and then see how that works, try the projects, and then kind of find your path.
And that's a perfect note, I think, to conclude our discussion on, and going back to what you mentioned, which is finding your why. And those of you who signed up for workshops, looking at these workshop topics is going to challenge you to explore your why, to examine what your thing is. Like you said, storytelling, that's your thing, you found that. And a lot of you kind of know, part of you know that that's already within you. And so it's just a matter of extracting that and bringing that out. And then we're gonna have to develop a whole other workshop series on how to gracefully say no, as was mentioned earlier. That's a whole, we may have to do some research, I think, to get that all sorted out. But let's give them a round of applause, the panelists, for now I'd like to welcome back Mr. Sean Stanton, and we're going to take our next steps on the agenda. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so this is gonna be where the fun really starts. All of the breakout sessions, like I mentioned before, are going to be very hands-on this year. That was a requirement for all the sessions. So most of them have something for you guys to take away. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to feel hungry again from breakfast. So in the breakout sessions, there will also be snacks in the breakout sessions. If you run out, just let your group leader know, and we'll get that situated. We have a little nice hack, I think. On the back of your badge, if you signed up for a breakout session. If you're a speaker, you can actually start heading to your room. But if you, Matthew and Sophia will help you with that, if you're a speaker. But if you are an attendee and you sign up for a afternoon / morning session, on the back of your badge, there should be the sessions that you signed up for, because I don't know about you, but I don't remember what I did yesterday, let alone when you registered for the conference. So what we're gonna do is, this will be a very simple process, like recess dismissal at school. I will have all my group leaders, please, if you are a student group leader, just come to the front. Make sure we have everybody here. Okay. Okay, first and foremost, let's give these students a huge round of applause, because they have a lot. Oh, you're here. Okay, so if you look at the back of your badge, okay, and you have Tanya Abrith and Kristen Magaletti, you're going to follow Janitsi to your breakout session. So if you can look at the back of your badge, she's going to be over there towards the elevator, and she will show you down to your breakout room. Okay? If you have Janitsi's, Tanya Abrith, and Kristen Magaletti, that's where you will go. Now, okay? Next one is going to be Dr. Laura Cohen. Okay, so this is with Eddie. Eddie, if you have Dr. Laura Cohen for your first session, please, Eddie, you can go to the kind of the right side of the room, and you can meet Eddie, and she will show you where your breakout session room is. I'll let everybody give us a few seconds here. Okay? If you are with Dr. Joan McGettigan and Dr. Byrne, that is going to be Sophia. So Sophia, if you can go to the left side of the room, please. Sophia is Dr. Byrne and Joan McGettigan for your first session. And if you get lost or confused, just let us know, and we'll help you find your place. Okay. Next is going to be Dr. Tia Major. So if you have the first session with Dr. Tia Major, please go with Destiny. We're going to give it a few seconds while everybody else clears out. But Dr. Tia Major for the first session will be with Destiny.